Courage and honor, cousin.
Into the fires of battle, unto the anvil of war.
Hello, and welcome to Warhammer 40k's Grim History from Beyond. I'm Zeckthar,
And I'm Yuksen.
and we are the chroniclers of all that was, and all that will be in the 41st millennium. We've seen the rise and fall of many empires, and this month we'll be explaining the 40k universe for people who are new to it, maybe like yourself.
That's right, Zeckthar, and this week we will be going through the brutality of the Imperium.
Indeed, but remember, if you guys like the retellings of 40k lore, you can support our channel by becoming a member on our YouTube channel, and more recently, you can purchase my book, The Jotunnite.
Just click on the hyperlink or type in the title in the description wherever you get your books. You can get the ebook for just $5.99.
Yes, quite right. But let us start this interesting month, shall we, Yuksen?
Absolutely. Now, the concept for this month's Voxes was established by one of our newer members, the Letter Lord himself, Colin. He is fairly new to the lore of 40k and just didn't really know where to start.
Indeed. So we figured we would do a simple guide to 40k. And this week, it's all about the humans. And like last week, anyways, we talked about the first 10 Primarchs. Now, mind you, anyways, we're concluding, anyways, our scenarios, anyways, the Primarchs, and then we'll get to the Imperium itself. But it must be noted, anyways, the last Primarchs were always thought very differently, anyways, than the original 10.
How so?
Well, the original 10 were significantly closer than the other ones were. I mean, they were the first, so therefore, anyways, they were kind of the older brothers. And then when you kicked off, anyways, into the next ones, anyways, they kind of had that aspect, anyways, and not the good one, where it's like, I'm your older brother. I can teach you many different things, anyways, that will help you, anyways. Lifetime. This one was more along the lines of, I'm better like than you are by Dad, which
Okay.
didn't really work out for the rest of them. So
you're saying the younger ones were like this, or the older ones were like that?
the older ones were very much more loved.
So what you're saying is, instead of them being like, we can teach you things, they're just like, neener.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it gets to the point anyways where it's I really don't care about you, all the way to kind of an abusive older sibling on the way that they kind of deal with these guys anyways that were met afterwards. Ironically, anyways, starting with the guy that I'm going to be talking about next, which is Bravo. Right, well, first off, anyways, his name's impossible. Can't stand his name. He's been nicknamed as Peter Turbo. But yeah, anyways.
Mainly by Zeckthar himself.
Perturabo he's actually probably one of my more favorite Primarchs. He was, where was he born? You mind looking that up for me real quick, Yuksen? I can't for the life of me remember.
I want to say Olympus or something like that.
It's close. That's close. I don't think that's quite right. But he was in charge of the 4th Legion, known as the Iron Warriors. Olympia. Yeah, there you go.
I was pretty close.
I know, you're well done. When he came into being, he's a genius. That's what to describe it. He is probably, out of all of them, you could argue he's the smartest. I mean, there's a couple other guys, anyways, you could kind of probably plug in there, like Magnus is obviously, anyways, very intelligent. But quite frankly, Perturabo is probably the smartest guy out of all. He's a genius. He's also known, anyways, for siege warfare.
Yeah.
So he's kind of the
master.
He's kind of the opposite of what Perturabo does. Although he does also build. He builds a lot of.
You mean the opposite of what Rogel Dorn does?
Or Rogel Dorn does. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Rogel Dorn.
Yes, Perturabo is the opposite of Perturabo.
Perturabo, yes. No, but he's kind of the opposite, kind of not. He also liked building fortresses. He never. There's two problems with him. One is that he never really got. Everybody was just like Dorne was found first, so it was like, well, we already have a siege master. I guess, be you, per Robbo.
But I'm better at it. Okay.
It's kind of like, this is my son, Rogel Dorn. This is my other son, Rogel Dorn's brother.
Yeah.
That was kind of the way he was treated. So obviously, anyways, he had a problem with that. Now, he did the one thing, anyways, and we've always kind of talked about why people don't like Perturabo, and this is straight up the best way of describing it. You can do a lot of things in the universe of Warhammer 40k. You can be a monster. You can be a horrible doctor that takes people apart, literally, and then while keeping them alive. You can destroy whole worlds. There's just one thing that you cannot do in 40k if you expect people, anyways, to give you any respect, and that is whine. You cannot whine. You cannot be the whiner. And guess who Perturabo is? He's a horrible whiner. That's all he does is whine, 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 whine. Yeah, everybody likes Rogel Dorn more than me. Why is that? Yeah, why wouldn't the Emperor let me build his fortress on Terra? Literally, that's he whines and he's got temper tantrums, and that's the thing, anyways, that's frustrating about it. But when he puts all that aside and he puts that kind of like that ego, or at least the fact that it's not even really necessarily an ego, it's just, I do have an ego, but no one recognizes it. I am really actually a great person, but nobody recognizes it. And by great person, I mean like great tactician, great general, great, like builder, all of this different stuff. I mean, there's at one point, anyways, where he builds or he takes apart I think it was something that Vulcan gave him he smithed. It was like this clock, and he put it back together again, which all the little tiny pieces and whatnot. It was something, anyways, that he made. I can't even remember what it was, but it was literally something he smithed, and it was like Fulgrim came up behind him and he's like, wow, that's something that Vulcan would have problems building. And Perturabo was just like, yeah, well, I mean, I do like to, tinker on my spare time, kind of thing. And then Fulgrim, if I recall right, anyways, Fulgrim said something that was really annoying because that's what Fulgrim does. And Perturabo just smashes the clock, and Fulgrim's like, well, why would you do that? He's like, because nothing ever, anyways, is immortal, or something along those lines. And Fulgrim was like, but it was a thing of beauty. And he's like, yeah, beauty fades like this, and he literally grabs Fulgrim and smashes his head like repeatedly into the table, like smacking.
Okay, that improves my opinion on quite a bit right there.
Yeah, I figured you might like that story. And Fulgrim's like, why did you do that? He's like I just said, I was giving you an example. Now go away before I kill you. He didn't like Fulgrim. Yeah. Anyways, what do you think of Perturabo before we move on?
Well, for one thing, he is great engineer. That's one of the words that should be used. He was a great engineer.
That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah.
It could be said that if he had had enough time at Terra, he may have actually been able to break the fortress.
He was on his way to doing it.
Yeah, he was on his way to doing it. That's the thing. He was on his way to actually being able to do it, and then
Horus removed him from being in charge.
Yeah, which
Horus was going nuts at that point. So yeah, but it was just
then Perturabo saw him and then went, "Okay, it's a lost cause." He just left.
He's still around today. He's another Chaos Primarch. Who became a demon, which honestly, anyways, I think is just terrible. I don't know why he did that, because he hated chaos. He just wanted to beat the crap out of Rogel Dorn. That's why he joined sides with Horus.
I think
I don't know if I could go against the Emperor. we're going to try to take on Rogel Dorn. I mean,
Yeah.
that was kind of how they persuaded him. But I don't understand why he became a demon Primarch. And
the only thing that I can think is maybe it goes along the same lines as how his entire legion is basically, well, as long as it benefits us, we'll use chaos. But it'll just basically be the way that we want to use it, not the way that you want to use it.
He is also, if I recall right anyways, the only Chaos Primarch that isn't actually affiliated with any single entity. No, there's one other one.
Lorgar,
who I was just about shoot. That would have been so perfect. It's like, and that's who you're going to be talking about next. But you're not.
No.
Because we're going to be talking about the Nurgle's boy next, who is Mortarion.
Yes, Mortarion is
another whiner. Sorry. The
leader of the 14th Legion, known as the Death God. And to put succinctly, his main characteristics were he was a tank.
Yeah.
This is before
you got to explain why, anyways, he was a tank, though, too. What gave him that attribute of just being able to tank anything?
Well, part of it was definitely because he grew up on this planet that was hostile, toxic.
Another death world.
If you weren't resilient, you would have died really fast.
I would have just loved, anyways, if just one of the Primarchs had shown up, anyways, on a world that was actually, normal. Not a single one does.
Gilliman?
That's probably the closest you could get to normal. That was like Roman Republic, like they were murdering people in the streets, kind of thing. So I mean, it was better than Fenris or this place. Which, by the way, what planet was he from?
Barbarous. And Barbarous is also where he gained his hatred for Psychers.
Ah, yes, Barbarous.
Because all of the Psychers on the planet basically treated everybody else as livestock, basically.
Less than
sport.
He's actually, you know what? I mentioned anyways that pretty much every Primarch that the Emperor found had conquered the world. There's actually, I misspoke there. There's actually two of them that technically hadn't conquered the world. One is Mortarion. Mortarion was close, though.
Yeah.
He had gathered all the peoples that weren't wizards and was starting a revolt.
Well, there's one that was a wizard, but he was kind of okay with it. Kind of.
Magnus? We've already talked about Magnus.
No. I'm talking about of his legion. He was
Mortarion.
with what's his name?
Typhus?
Yeah, Typhus.
Anyways,
bad decision.
Get back to why he's being a tank.
So this resilience and the fact that basically his whole aspect is we take it, we move onwards. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's not just that anyways, but he had a bunch of he's got a bunch of poisonous gas anyways that follows him wherever he goes.
Yeah.
So while you're slowly trying to kill him, and he's kind of taking it and blocking it anyways, you are getting weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
That's confound.
It is cool that he wielded a scythe. I mean,
he does wield a scythe. He wields a scythe and a 6-shooter, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love his gun. I will say this. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Mortarion, but his gun is sick. It's like one of the few six shooters in the galaxy, and it's got a big bore to it too. It's like you shoot that into an orc, and you just make his head right into a canoe, if there's any head left.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got that, and then he's got this giant scythe, which, I mean, going into battle with a scythe is weird in and of itself, but it looks cool. It looks really cool. Especially when you have that mask that makes you look like death, and you wear a giant cloak.
and even when he wasn't wearing armor, he looked kind of like death because he had very pallid skin.
Right. He eventually became, ironically anyways, he became one of Nurgle's boys.
Yeah. The
whole thing
tragedy
was,
behind it is he did it to save the rest of his legion,
which
which is what's
just
sad.
dumb. That whole story is, and we'll probably talk
Yeah.
about the Death Guard at some point. But the interesting part about it, though, to me, anyways, is that he couldn't stand wizards, and he became one in the end of it.
Yeah.
So
Which-
that's kind of how chaos can really twist you.
Which Khan ends up prodding him with later. But he was also very efficient with that scythe, efficient enough to be able to hold people off, at least long enough until it didn't really matter how good you are with the scythe.
Yeah. I mean, now, mind you, anyways, when he became Nurgo's boy, I mean, then all of a sudden he has all those plagues, anyways, attached to him. So
Yeah.
that kind of steam off him. So wherever he goes, everything just dies.
Yeah. And
But-
it enhanced his sapping ability.
But enough about that. We're going to talk now, anyways, about the next guy, which is Yuksen's favorite, Lorgar, right? That's everybody's favorite Primarch. No, I'm being very facetious here. Everybody hates Lorgar. Lorgar sucks. Lorgar wasn't even a conqueror. Ironically, though, he's not one of the guys, anyways, that didn't conquer his world. There was, like I said, Mortarion and one other guy that we haven't got to yet. Lorgar, ironically, did conquer his world through a righteous crusade, because he's also the priest of the bunch.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that's, we did a whole Vox on him, which was actually a lot longer than we expected, because he's the guy that's responsible for the Horus Heresy. He's the guy that's responsible for chaplains in every Space Marine chapter, well, almost every Space Marine chapter. He's responsible for the ecclesiarchy. And he's responsible pretty much for the Imperium being the piece of crap that it is today.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. I mean, you can hate on as much as you want on Erebus, but Erebus wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for Borgar. So it's always, anyways, that's always the argument, anyways. Who's worse, Erebus or Lorgar? It's kind of a flip of a coin. So Lorgar started his life on Kolkis. The people that lived on Kolkis were already Chaos worshippers. They just didn't know it. They had these four entities that they worshipped, and they happen to be the Chaos Gods. So he was already kind of born into that. He was raised by, pardon my French, a piece of shit. I mean, that's probably the best way to describe Corferon, right?
Well, originally he was raised by somebody who may have been a good person.
He might have been a good guy, but then Corferon killed that guy. Took on the responsibilities of being dad. But that's probably the only way you can really describe Corferon. In any other legion, he would be the worst. But wait a minute. We've got other people, anyways, that can compete in this particular field of this particular army. He was raised by, like I said, he was raised by Corferon, who was just terrible, completely manipulated him, was very abusive. But regardless of that, he ends up taking over Kolkis and has this firm belief, because he's got psychic capabilities, that the Emperor is the god of humanity, and he is coming to Kolkis. He will eventually show up at Kolkis. So he conquers the world to make it ready for the Emperor. The Emperor shows up. He goes, "Oh, praise the big E." Yes, which the Emperor has a problem with, because the Emperor wants to get away from religion. So he keeps telling Lorgar, no, I'm not a god. I'm just a man who uses godlike powers. But no, I'm just a man. And
I'll let you guys party and worship me in these parties for months.
But then after that, we gotta get away from
they're
it.
having these parties celebrating this deity showing up.
So Lorgar, anyways, at that point, anyways, he joins the Great Crusade in charge of the 17th Legion, which at the time, I can't remember what they were called, but they're more commonly now known as the Word Bearers. That's what Lorgar kind of turned them into. And so every place that they conquered, what ended up happening was that they would not only conquer it, but they would also induct all the worlds that they conquered into this new faith of Lorgar's, anyways, on the one true God, which was the Emperor. Which, by the way, he wrote a book during this time that that started the ecclesiarchy of the 41st millennium. So eventually what ends up happening, though, is that the Emperor catches wind of this because he keeps slowing down his crusades because he's trying to teach people about the one true God, Emperor. The Emperor has a problem with this. He rebukes Lorgar in a very public and violent way. And then Lorgar goes on a crusade to find somebody else worthy of worship, and then he finds the Chaos Gods during the Eye of Terror. So then, anyways, he starts in his concept of trying to overthrow his father. He finds a sap, aka Horus, who all the Emperor, all the Chaos Gods can get behind. And
let's loose Erebus.
Let's loose Erebus. Do we really need to talk about it? We do need to talk about Erebus. Erebus is the other guy. So when I said Corpheron is simply the worst, the word bears, he would be, except for there's Erebus. Erebus, literally every time, anyways, he is the evil MacGuffin. That's what to describe him. It's the whole, well, we've got a little bit of hope. Something could possibly get better. And then all of a sudden, Erebus.
Or like
from behind,
you know,
from nowhere,
it's like the Death Guard actually may be a good guy until Erebus shows up and turns. Like, no.
And he's also just that random too. He just, yeah. Unfortunately, the bugger is still alive, and working. I
mean, he did create Angron.
No, that was Lorgar. That was Lorgar's whole decision.
Oh yeah.
So right. Who we'll get to here later, and I'll explain that later. But
and they were known as the Imperial Heralds before the word bearers.
Imperial Heralds.
You know,
okay,
it was such a huge, drastic change. You know.
Ironically, during the Horus heresy, he actually thinks, anyways, that Horus Lupercal isn't the right person to lead this army against Terra, and so he tries a coup, which fails miserably. Horus beats the crap out of him and doesn't kill him, though. He tells him to leave, so then he flees into the Eye of Terror. He becomes the second Primarch that is Chaos Undivided, and he is still there to this day. Oh, except for there was a particular time where Corvus Corax showed up anyways, and scared Lorgar so bad anyways that he's been hiding behind this thick oak door ever since.
Well, until now, apparently he started showing up.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. It hasn't been documented yet that he is actually in the material. It's just been rumored that he is there. Who knows? He still might be like, Corax? Are you still out there? Oh! He might be. So he's like actually one of the last Primarchs that we did a whole Vox on. It's actually really interesting. He's really integrated into the destruction of the Imperium of Mankind. He really is. He's the instrument. He's the artist. He's everything. It's like, if you want to blame how crappy the 41st millennium is, that's your guy. Lorgar. Now, okay, I'm done talking with him. Why don't you talk about somebody actually that's actually pretty cool? His chapter doesn't get a whole lot of talk about him, but Zeckthar Khan, also known as the Khan.
Well, there's a lot of talk about him because that's their whole thing. They don't really take any accolades at all. They're just like, we're here to do what we do, and then we move on.
Pergaraba would have never made it as a white score.
Yeah. So,
wait. Don't we get a parade or something after we conquer this world? No, we just move on, man. But no, we just move. I hate you guys. Not even a little parade? I can get you a flag if you want. No, I'm good now. Okay. Fine.
It's gone. Sorry.
The moment has passed. Sorry. Zeckthar Khan.
So Zeckthar Khan is
he was from Chigurh, correct?
Of the 5th Legion, which was originally like this. I can't remember what
Starbreakers,
they're
I want
called.
to say. Starbreakers or Star Runners or something. But he was from Chigoris, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that was the
Yes,
guy. Anyways, we kept going. Chigoris? No, that's not right. But this time it is. Sorry, go ahead. I'm interrupting.
Yes, Chigoris. He first started out as being a nomad chief's son and then ended up basically taking over Chigoris. Very much think of Terran 42 Genghis Khan and the Mongols. They took over. His viewpoint was not one necessarily of a emperor, but definitely one of a conquest person. So he felt that if you just stayed in one spot and you'd slowly degrade over time instead of actually progressing.
Much like the Mongols before Genghis Khan, he was very nomadic.
Yeah.
Also like the Mongols, they were the armies that he established. Anyways, they were all like horse archers.
Yeah.
Cavalry, fast attack.
Yeah.
This is key for what you're going to be talking about later. Okay, I'm done.
Well, it's sort of attributed to what his legion did. They just swapped out horses and bows with bolters and bikes.
Oh, don't forget jetbikes. They had jetbikes too.
Oh yeah.
And the Khan himself, anyways, had it wasn't a jet bike. It was like a jet chariot or something like that.
Yeah,
it looked pretty cool. I'll have a picture up for it, you guys, anyways, on Tales of Ashraka. But
yeah, so he was when Emperor found him. Actually, in comparison to other people who were just like, "Yay, he's here," he was more like the aspect of, "Okay, this person can wipe out my planet. So I'm just gonna say, okay."
You're talking about the Emperor? You failed to mention the fact that it was the Emperor, but
yeah.
You're like, "Yay, he showed up!" Like the Mongols showed up, and everyone was happy.
It's like, yes, no. The Emperor showed up,
like,
and
no.
he knew that they'd be wiped out if they tried challenging it. But at the same time, he said, "Okay, I'll join you so long as you don't wipe out my planet." Basically, if you can follow that, then I will follow your orders. You have my word.
Loosely.
which in one of the things that apparently nobody else got about him is his word really was his bond.
Right. Oh no, that's one of the things I love about the Khan. But
yeah,
the other thing that I find interesting about this, like you said, anyways, is that the Khan gave the Emperor ultimatums. First off, no one does that but the Emperor. And second, so the Emperor kind of allowed him to do that too. I mean, let's face it. The Emperor just looked at him and went, "No." He could have. Right?
He could have.
It's the Emperor with the Imperium of Man behind him against one teeny tiny little planet. Yeah, he could have, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to let him run, Yeah. Which, fair play to the Emperor on that particular point. But it's interesting because I don't think any other Primarch actually gave the Emperor ultimatums. Like, I will do this provided that you...
No.
I don't think any of them ever established a code.
No.
Which to me is incredibly interesting.
Another interesting thing is Gilman didn't think that he should be a leader of one of the legions. He thought he was uncivilized and
Lord, both
unimperial. It's like
I wonder how that conversation went, by the way. And if Lehman Russell's there, how it would have been entertaining. Because they were both Dorn and Gilman was like, "You can't give him a legion yet. He's not civilized. We need to be a civilized Imperium." And then you all of a sudden hear behind him anyways, "Right, what they said." And they turn around and there's Lehman Russ in all of his Viking glory. He's like, "Okay, never mind. Just give him the legion."
Yeah. One of the things they also really like about him is he was a wild card in the fact that, and he mentions this when he talks to Fulgrim, and I love how every once in a while he has these moments where he just roasts somebody, and you love it because it's one of the people that you really want
Talking about Fulgrim
to be knocked down a peg.
At the Ullanor campaign or Triumph. Yeah.
In one case, I think Fulgrim like insults his planet, and he ends up going, "It's like, I hear you do weird things with your ships, Khan." And the Khan, another thing the Khan did is he looked at the ships, he's like, "We're gonna change some things about these, but this is
he really loved the jet bikes.
We're gonna change some things."
He liked going fast.
Yeah,
that was this whole thing. He really liked going fast. I could see, by the way, anyways, the conversation when they first finally come to their agreements, him and the Emperor is like, you can get rid of the horses because we have this. It's like, shows him a jet bike, shows him how to run it, and he does a couple figure eights, and he comes back and he's like, yes, I like it. Can we make it go faster? Maybe? We need to do
on that.
Okay. Yeah, so no, yeah.
So, anyways, Fulgrim makes that comment, and his comment back is, "I hear you do things to your men." This is like, you're like, yes, let's get into this. And so, yeah. But the thing about the Khan that made him also interesting is, and this is one of the reasons why Horus didn't really approach him that much originally.
He was good friends
during the Horus Heresy, was because he didn't know which side that he was going to be on. He truly did not know.
Horus, yeah, that was one. But Horus also thought, anyways, that he could actually sway the Khan to his side because they were that close. Unfortunately, it gets all messed up by Alpha Legion. Alpha Legion was supposed to contain the Khan long enough for Horus to show up so that he could actually talk to the Khan. What ends up happening, though, is the Alpha Legion pops up and they just start murdering White Scars. And so the White Scars beat the crap out of him.
But shortly thereafter, he ends up coming across, to try to piece things together, he goes to Prospero, which at that point has been burnt to the ground.
Right. Like I talked about with Lehman Russ, yeah.
And that's the first time that he ends up... Mortarion shows up and tries to convince him to join Horus's side.
Before that, though, I must make mention, anyways, the Khan was really... Ironically, the Khan was good friends with a lot of people that joined Horus's side. He was friends with Horus, and then he was also really good friends with Magnus.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really sad story that I actually have talked about a couple of times with the Vox, over the Voxes, and he has a conversation with a shard of Magnus. It's part of Magnus's essence that he left there. I don't know if it was because in case the Khan showed up or somebody else showed up, but he sits there and he has a conversation, and they both, it's a very frank conversation between two friends. And at that point, you understand anyways that Magnus is deciding anyways that he's going to side with Chaos, because he figures at this point anyways he has no other choice. And he kind of wants the Khan to go with him, but the Khan is given his word to the Emperor. So it's actually kind of sad because Magnus understands where the Khan is going. The Khan understands why Magnus is doing what he's doing anyways. And it's like, it's this parting of friends that were really close, that they both know anyways the next time that they see each other, more than likely they're going to have to kill each other.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty sad story.
It's quite a bit different from Fulgrim and Ferrus Masses, where it's just like, I will kill you. I was going to say,
or leaving Russ anyway, suplexing Magnus and breaking his back across his knee. Yeah.
No. I was talking about two friends. And,
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Magnus and Russ were never friends.
Yeah. No, they never were. So the Khan, by the way, is one of the three Primarchs that was there during the Siege of Terra. Actually, I'm not talking about this. You're supposed to be talking about this.
He ended up being instrumental in taking back, I believe, the Lion's Gate. I want to say. It's the only gate that I can remember, so I assume it's that one.
Pain in Dorn's side the entire time. I loved it.
Which was kind of against what Dorn wanted originally. He's like, we should all stay here. He's just like, no, I'm going. Like, fine.
As we've mentioned before, Dorn is the siege guy. So he's like, this is where we put troops. We guard these walls. And as you just mentioned, anyways, the Khan is more like a Mongol. He's a free-flowing spirit. You know, kind of thing.
He's more of like,
he has to run, you know?
Yeah, and that's the other part is like, you do realize you're wasting us here. Plus, if that thing goes, we're in a heck of a lot more problems than we are.
So what happened after the Horse Heresy? What happened to the Khan?
Well, he almost died at the Siege of Terra.
Against Mortarion? Yeah.
Against Mortarion. Who he pissed off by saying, look at what you've become. You become the thing that you hate the most.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah,
You're a wizard. Don't say that!
And then he purposely impales himself on the scythe so that he can get in and slice off Mortarion's head. So he almost kills himself. After that, I don't think he helps with the scouring, does he?
He does for a bit.
He does? And then he ends up disappearing after fighting against the Drukhari.
He takes his chariot
somewhere
and charges
into
the webway and disappears, chasing a bunch of Drukhari. Yeah. That's our boy.
Who had been tormenting...
he hates the Drukhari.
Oh, yeah.
Out of all the Primarchs, the Khan hates Drukhari more than anything else.
Yeah.
He can understand chaos. Remember, he was buds with Horus. The Drukhari, on the other hand, anyways, like, these things all deserve to die. It's like you, Yuksen, anyways, with books. They ruin our books. We must burn them all. You know, kind of thing. That's kind of the way he looks at the Drukhari. But anyways, we have to move on anyways from probably one of the coolest to
the most unhinged,
darkest,
most unhinged,
yes. And that would be Conrad Kurz. Now, Conrad Kurz was in charge of the 8th Legion, which was known as they're known as the Night Lords. He grew up on the planet of Nostromo, and his nickname was the Night Haunter. Probably okay. So to picture Conrad Kurz for you on Terran 42, picture the scariest vampire you have ever seen in any movie, and then turn them into Superman. Didn't you kind of have Conrad Kurz? He's incredibly scary. He's also the only Primarch that wasn't raised by anything or anyone. He literally grew up by himself, which I don't know how he did that, but he did. I mean, he's one scary dude. I mean,
yeah.
Another guy, anyways, that you could argue could beat Sanguinius, Conrad Kurz. Conrad Kurz went toe-to-toe with the Lion and almost beat him once, and then the other time he did lose. But he's also a very proficient fighter. Like I said before, though, anyways, the thing that as opposed to anybody else, he's the only guy that didn't have anything raise him, ever. So he just kind of had to deal with his own instincts, and
nobody liked him. Of course, when you're a psychopath, it's very hard to be liked.
Well, actually, people did eventually, anyways, end up respecting him on his planet, Nostromo, because the concept...
No, I'm talking about the other Primarchs.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to them in a minute, anyways. But his aspect, anyways, that he found that worked on Nostromo is very much like what Caligula said in Terran 42, the Roman Emperor, which was, let them hate us as long as they fear us.
Yeah.
He came up with the concept, anyways, as long as they fear me, then I can actually run an organization. And eventually he ended up conquering the whole planet on simple aspect of we don't like each other, but if we don't get along, then Spazzy McGee up here anyways will murder everybody. So
Yeah.
let's all play it cool. And then the Emperor showed up. Now, one of the things, anyways, also about Conrad Curtis is that he's very much like Sanguinius on the concept that he's also a prophet. He sees things before they take place. Unfortunately, as opposed to Sanguinius, who dealt with it a lot better, actually. Not a little bit, a lot better than Conrad Curtis did, anyways. Conrad Curtis slowly went insane because of all the things he was seeing. Now, mind you, anyways, his premonitions were literally everything that could possibly go wrong. That's what he saw that took place in the future. So he
no bright sort of visions at all just horrible.
Every single person, like all of his brothers, every brother, anyways, that he saw the first time we saw him, anyways, he saw how they died. I mean, yeah, I can see why, anyways, he's not a super happy dude. He ends up joining Horus. It would have been interesting if he stayed loyal, but he didn't.
Well, let's face it. Him and his crew aren't very noble.
Honestly, anyways, I kind of wonder, anyways, why he joined Horus. Part of me thinks, anyways, it was just kind of a last-ditch thing, anyways, of just going, I think that the Loyalists are going to win. So if I join Horus, maybe they won't, and then all of this horrible stuff that we've seen, anyways, won't take place. Or maybe it will because I did. Yeah, at that point, anyways, he wasn't necessarily lucid. That's probably the best way to describe it. He saves Lorigar, which was bad enough in and of itself. He took on Chorus Corax, beat him to a stalemate. He beat the crap out of Roll of Thorn, which always, anyways, gets just placed off to the side. He was a great warrior, anyways, on the aspect of that he could fight really well. But eventually, what ends up happening is he ends up fighting the Lion. I believe this is the second or third time, and he gets suplexed, very much like Lehman Russ suplexed Magnus, and his back gets broken. And then he gets on trial with Gilliman and Sanguinius, and eventually, what ends up happening is they end up jettisoning him out in a little pod into space. He's eventually found. He just kind of gives up. He finds his Night Lords, he sequesters them to a particular part of space, and he just gives up. Apparently, an assassin from the Assassinorum comes and claims and kills him,
or not.
That's the rub. Everybody kind of agrees, and I don't know if it's just simply because nobody likes the Night Haunter, or if it's because they're like, yeah, he definitely died. This assassin shows up. The Night Haunter knows, anyways, that she's going to show up. Says, all right, you're here. I knew you were going to show up. I'm kind of done. And then right before she takes his head, all the video, all the recordings, everything, anyways, that has ever been found, anyways, disappear. And then she escapes, but she doesn't have a head with her or anything to prove that she actually killed him other than her word. So, would it shock me if the Night Haunter is still around? No. Would it shock me if he was actually killed? No, it wouldn't either. Yeah. Because, like I said, I think he kind of gave up, so he's just like, just kill me. I need to die. But as we know, anyways, Primarchs are really hard to kill. Well, I think we're kind of done talking about the Night Haunter. We will eventually do a whole Fox on the Night Haunter, because we probably won't do one on the Night Lords, because both Yuksen and I really hate the Night Lords. But the Night Haunter's story in and of itself is actually a really interesting story and worth telling. But now we've got to move on, anyways, to the guy that honestly the Emperor did quite dirty.
Yes.
And that would be the angry one, Angron.
Yes. So Angron is the leader of the 12th Legion, which is the World Eaters. He grew up on New Syria. He ended up becoming a gladiator, where they slams some nails in his head called butcher's nails.
It's a little bit more complicated than that, but yeah, fair enough.
Which basically anything other than aggressive nature, you suffer pain for. Pretty much it, right? That's pretty much the way to explain it.
Oh yeah. The butcher, known as the butcher's nails. Yes. So when they get pounded into your brain, they do kind of look like nails, but they've got like these wires attached to them. And the aspect is that it hits all the different parts of your brain, and anything other than like rage or anger, if you're not feeling that when they activate it, well, actually, it's not even if they activate it. It's just straight up anyways all the time. If you do not feel rage or anger, then you just feel pain. It's like lightning bolts zapping into your head. There is the positive, though, is that it also hits anyways your adrenaline. Yeah. So when you're actually like super pissed off and raged anyways, it actually really like congeals that, so you become even stronger than you originally normally would. So that concept of Yuksen anyways on Terran 42, where a woman can lift an entire bus because her baby anyways is trapped underneath it. Yeah, you ever heard that?
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
It's just doesn't mean anyways that a woman can lift an entire bus, but that anyways is constant. So while a woman couldn't actually lift an entire bus because her baby was trapped, a car on the other hand anyways with enough adrenaline anyways pumping through her, for a few seconds anyways, so that the kid can get out. Yeah, that definitely can happen. It's been shown many a times in Terran 42 that does happen. But this is more along the lines of that kind of strength all the time. That's the benefit of the butcher's nails.
So
the downside, like you said anyways, is that you're in constant pain if you're not pissed off.
Yeah.
Which isn't good. But okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So suffice to say, he is one of the two that's probably the easiest to turn against the Emperor. Mortarion, because Mortarion hated all Psychers. The Emperor is the biggest Psyker in the Imperium, so of course it'd be easy to turn somebody who hates Psychers against the big Psyker of the Imperium. In Angron's case, it's because literally what ended up happening is Angron and his fellow, basically family, of gladiators started a revolt, and he was just like, okay, we're going to fight to our last man, and then the Emperor pops up and goes, I'm taking you with me. He's like, no, I want to stay here with my friends to fight against this. He's like, no, because you will die. He's like, fine, I'll die. He's like, okay. And then he leaves, and then he beams up Angron. Just Angron, not any of his fellows, just Angron. So he gets to watch all of his friends, basically family, get slaughtered on this ship, and the Emperor could have saved them.
They were also on top of a mountain, so there was like a perfect view. So, like on top of this doomed mountain anyways, and he's like, if we die with honor. With me, my brothers! And then he gets zapped up into the ship. No! That way he could see it.
And the Emperor could have saved him. He could have wiped out everything except for them if you wanted to.
He had an Imperial fleet with him. Yes, he definitely
did. No. So instead what he does is he goes, well, they weren't necessary. But for Angron, very, very necessary. So obviously it'd be easy to turn somebody who's really pissed off at somebody to turn against that person.
Of all the Primarchs that turn against their father, the Emperor, Angron is probably the only one anyways that I can look at and go, that is 100% justified.
Yeah.
He's the only one. I literally, this is the most dickish thing anyways I think I've seen anybody do in power. It was just so dumb too. It was, I mean, because like you said anyways, he's got an Imperial fleet behind him, so he could definitely take over the world. If he doesn't want to do that, fine. He could still, anyways, transport everybody up to the ship. Doesn't do that either. It is this weird imperialistic way, anyways, of trying to teach a lesson, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah. It's just... It's the concept that he's trying to teach a lesson, which I can kind of understand because I wasn't there. I can understand, anyways, that you are... Angron are pretty much an immortal. So these little people don't really matter. That was the lesson he was trying to explain. Or show. The problem is like I've said so many times anyways, Angron's looking at that and going, yes, I understand that I might be immortal, but these guys matter to me. Yeah. They might not matter to the rest of the galaxy, but they matter to me. So, it is one of the Emperor, we talk all the time anyways about his faults, and we have on the box for many a times, but this is one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen him do. There's just no... I don't understand anyways the uptake of this.
Right.
Trying to explain that lesson this way is just dumb. I don't know.
I would say probably only there's only one way that I can think of that this could probably be even worse for him to do that, is if he brought them all up there and shot him right in front of his face. Himself.
Yeah, that would have been worse.
That's like the only worst way that
I didn't know where you're going there, Yuksen.
Possible.
I thought you were going to be like, here's the only reason I could see that this makes sense. I'm like, okay, here, let's hear it.
No.
He shoots them all in front of him. I'm done. I don't get it.
No. That's probably the only way you could do it worse is if you literally, yourself, shot the people in front of him.
Yeah. Congratulations, Yuksen. You figured out, anyways, a worse way of doing this. And the only worst way of doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. The other way, anyways, would be, anyways, if they somehow miraculously won on top of this mountain and they're about to succeed, and then he exterminates the whole planet. That's the only way that's worse than that. And Angron's sitting there going, yes, they won! Boom. And the Emperor's like, oh, you'll get over it. What the hell? Yeah. Okay, we got to get past this point. But yes, like I said, this is the only time that I've ever seen, anyways, where the Emperor did something so dunderheaded that I don't understand it. Yeah. I even understand, anyways, the concept, anyways, of not telling Horus during the Ulanor Triumph why he's doing the webway or about chaos. I can kind of understand that. This is just so blatantly stupid.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But, okay. We're done with that. Tell us what happens to Angron.
Well...
It just gets from terrible to worse for him.
So, Angron ends up fighting Gilliman. Unfortunately, Gilliman steps on some skulls of, lo and behold, some of Angron's fallen friends.
Oh, okay. Before you get to that point, anyways, obviously, like we kind of got bypassed here a little bit, but Yuksen said, anyways, he ends up joining Horus's side because he hates the Emperor. He hates everybody at this point. He ends up murdering his own sons on Esfon 3. And then murders everybody else, anyways, on the Drop Site Massacre. Then he teams up with a Lorgar, who it almost seems like he's kind of cool with. Kind of. But Lorgar realizes that the butcher's nails that are in his head are slowly killing him, so he thinks, hey, I can save him. And he does it in the worst way possible, like everybody else has done to Angron. And so he ends up fighting, like Yuksen said, Gilliman. And then During this time, by the way, anyways. Okay, so backtrack here a little bit. The planet that they're on is New Syria. The reason they were there is because Angron wanted to exterminate the planet because they killed all of his friends. He found some of his friends' skulls, and he, as a tribute, anyways, attached it to his belt. While he is fighting Gilliman actually, anyways, cuts that strand off so that the skulls fall on the ground, and then he steps on it. He doesn't do it on purpose, mind you. He doesn't look at him and go, he doesn't do that. He accidentally
regrets it as soon as he does it.
Back, and then crushes the skulls. And it was very much, anyways, he hears the crunch. They both hear the crunch. In the middle of this huge combat, by the way. Gilliman looks down, pulls his foot up, sees the powdered crust of a bunch of skulls, then looks over at Angron's belt and realizes where those skulls came from. About the time that Angron's figuring this out. And Gilliman looks at Angron, and Angron looks at Gilliman, and Gilliman gets this look on his face like, oh, no. I'm sorry. And at that point, anyways, Angron snaps. And then Lorgar does what Lorgar does. Messes everything up.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. You explain what happened.
He turns him into a demon. And so he would be
shorter than I thought. I thought you were going to give great detail on that, but no.
Okay. Oh, no. Well, first of all, Angron jumped in when Lorgar had actually gotten a backbone by this point. And he was actually doing decently well against Gilliman, and then Angron jumped in and that. But,
Lorgar gets a lot of people to save him. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
Well, in that case, though, they were like both facing off against each other.
They both actually, yeah. It was an interesting duel. It wasn't like on Esteban 5 where Lorgar was fighting Corvus Corax, where it was just like, yeah, you're just gonna lose, kind of thing. And he got saved by the Nightmare. Or
this was like basically they had exchanged blows and they were like getting ready to come up against each other, and then Angron bursts in and he's like, okay, I'm stepping back.
And Lorgar was cool with that, though. He was just like, yeah, kill him. or we'll wait until he gets super pissed, and then we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And he turns him into a demon Primarch for Khorne.
Yeah, which makes sense, because it's Khorne.
It makes sense with
the blood god.
Angron, the frustrating part about this is that it's yet another person, anyways, deciding Angron's fate and doing it in the worst way possible. Lorgar's like, I will save him from the butcher's nails. Instead, we're going to enslave him to Khorne. I mean, so, and by the way, Khorne never removed the nails. They still do the same damn thing. So he's always, at this point anyways, he's just always raging hard. Angron has no emotion other than raging.
Yeah.
It's shown during the Siege of Terra. He just can't get past angry at that point.
Hence the constant, he is the angry one.
So Lorgar, while he did save him in the concept anyways that the Butcher Nails will not kill Angron anymore, he put him into even such more of a worser fate. Angron, quite frankly anyways, is probably the saddest story out of all the Primarchs, in my opinion. I mean, what do you think, Yuksen? I mean, I may be wrong about that, but what do you think? It's hard to think of it, by the way, anyways, as a sad story because he's just so angry all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to feel bad for you, but you keep murdering people.
Yeah, I know, exactly. On the flip side, he just murders. He doesn't necessarily, he isn't just, he attacks or wipes out people. He murders. That's the key thing. Murders.
He rips and shreds. He is the Doom guy. in 40K. But instead of the Doom guy who just kills, like demons, he kills everybody.
Yeah.
But do you agree with me or not anyways? He probably is the saddest story. If you can get past the whole anger aspect of it, he was probably treated the worst out of all of them.
Yeah,
Other than maybe Conrad.
He was probably treated the worst.
Which is depressing. But we're going to move on anyways. Okay. We're getting to the second to last guy here anyways. And this is Corax Corvus. Now, he was a 19th Legion known as the Raven Guard. That's who he was in charge of. They are the spooks. That's the best way to describe them. They are hit hard, hit fast, and then disappear. There's only one other Legion that is as good as they are anyways at that. And, well, we can't talk about them yet because they're the last one, and Yuksen really wants to talk about them.
Oh, yeah.
Corax has always, anyways, thought of things differently. Like I said, he loves, anyways, hit-and-run tactics. He's the only guy, anyways, that Gilliman played this, weird game of, 40K chess and beat. And he beat him a couple of times until Gilliman figured out, anyways, what he was doing, and then he couldn't beat him again. But it was one of those games, anyways, that Gilliman just beat everybody at. And then all of a sudden, he ran into Korvax. And Korvax, anyways, his thinking was so different that he ended up beating him. He's one of the guys that got stuck on the drop site massacre. Like I said before, anyways, on Esteban 5, he ends up almost killing Lorgar, but the Nightmare saves him. He's the only Primarch, actually, from the Loyalists that ends up escaping there. Vulcan ends up being captured, and Ferrus Manus lost his head. Because of that, though, he wasn't actually... He never made it to the Siege of Terra. He was trying to rebuild his legions, and he's one of the few guys, anyways, that had a problem with the... what is it? Gilliman's thing. Codex Astartes. Simply because, very much like Vulcan, anyways, he just didn't have enough people to do what they needed to do. After the Horus Heresy, he ends up disappearing into the warp, mainly to kill Lorgar. While he was in the warp, it is mentioned that he was transformed because of warp energy. Now, what he became afterward hasn't really been described. I have some really cool pictures that I'm going to be showing anyways on Tales of Ashraka that are pretty cool. What a lot of people in Terran 42 think he might have become. But he has not been seen since the Great Scouring, pretty much.
Yeah.
Unless you've got something else to talk about him anyways, I think we shall leave him as an enigma, because that is what his character is. Savvy?
Yeah.
All right. Now
the
we gotta talk about the last
one, right?
Speaking of enigmas, yes. Jeez. We are going to be talking about the greatest enigma of them all, Alfarius and Omega, the twins. Yes.
Yeah.
If
So
you
they are in
think things are
charge
weird in
of-
40K, or you think things anyways are strange and I don't understand how it works, well, we haven't talked about Alpha Legion yet, because at that point anyways, your brain's just going to melt through your nose. It's just like, oh. But here to try to explain it is Yuksen.
Yeah. So Alpharis and Omegon were, the theory that I prefer is, originally it was one person, but when the whole boot kick by Chaos happened, they somehow split in two. I'm not sure if I did say that already, but they are in charge of the 20th Legion. It was originally called the Ghost Legion, now it's Alpha Legion. Their history is written, the one that's closest to their actually origins is written by Alfarius, who, what things about Alpha Legion and Alfarius is they always have this heading of, it could be a lie. It could all just be a lie. So, the lore that he's cast is actually the fact that Alfarius was the first and last person to be found by the Imperium. He was, in theory, found on Terra, and then he was raised by, not the Emperor, but Malkador instead, to be just a spook. A real, like, Cold War CIA sort of person.
Is this the origin we're going with? Because I heard tale, anyways, that he landed on a planet that was eventually, anyways, attacked by the Slaw.
See,
and
that...
then he escaped.
See, and this particular telling, that's Omegon that had that happen. Because Omegon was not on Terra when he was found.
Have you made mention in any ways that all the lore behind Alfarius
is maybe a lie? Yeah.
Maybe a lie. Yes. Okay.
Yes. I made that thing. It's like everything surrounding Alpha Legion Alfarius, pretty much all of it has the caveat of it could be a lie.
I mean, after all, as you know anyways, Yuksen, I am Alfarius and you are Omegon. Ha ha! We've solved everything.
I am Alfarius.
Yes. We've finally come forward. Sorry, we've been running the Tibius Bastion in the outer galaxies this entire time.
Yeah, so...
Absolutely not true. It is a lie. But it's Alfarius.
Yeah. So, one of the things that has been noted, not just about them themselves, but across the board, actually, amongst several different recordings, is the fact that somehow he has the ability to... Alfarius and Omegon were short enough that they're able to blend in with Space Marines.
Mm-hmm. Out of all the Primarchs, they were the shortest one.
And they
ironically
somehow had this ability...
hang on a second. Ironically, anyways, the Legion was considered actually one of the taller legions.
Yes.
That's why, anyways, they could actually really fit in. I think the only one, anyways, that was considered larger or taller was
the Salamanders.
Yep. But that's because they come from Vulcan stock, and Vulcan is a giant. But anyways, it helped them to sneak around.
Yeah. And the other thing about them apparently is that they have this trait of being able to, because all Primarchs, not sure if we established this beforehand, but they have a pretty shining presence amongst them. Somehow the twins are able to nullify this enough that literally you could like walk by them and go, huh, that's an interesting person, and then not really take any further account of it.
Well, so much so that you could, like you said anyways, just walk right past them and not even notice them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Now,
somebody would go, yeah, I remember that person. Well, that person was kind of tall and might have been, yeah. Well, yeah, he was there.
Anyways, all of Alpha Legion has this attribute too, which is weird because, like we mentioned anyways, they're considered like taller than most Space Marines. But if they want to disappear, they can.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I say that just simply anyways because a 9-foot tall dude anyways disappearing into a crowd and everybody just doesn't see him, that's weird.
9 feet is all you know as well as I do.
Okay, fine. 8 feet. The average Space Marine, if I recall right, is about 7 feet tall. 7 to 8 feet tall, and they were considered larger than your average one. Yeah. So 8 to 9 feet. But even still, anyways, an 8-foot tall dude disappearing in the middle of a crowd is weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, Yuksen. It's weird.
So, one of the things about Ghost Legion is they were sent forth to, well, this was their unofficial job given for Alfarius, apparently, was to actually go ahead of people and weaken the groups before the Great Crusade came through.
Alpha Legion didn't fight like the rest of the legions.
No.
They fought like spoofs.
Yeah, exactly. They're in your walls.
One of my favorite stories is the concept, anyways, that Rabute Gilliman said, anyways, the way you fight is just stupid. And Alfarius is like, I'll take that bet. And Gilliman was like, well, I wasn't really betting anything. And Alfarius is like, too late. And he went off, anyways, to this planet. And he systematically destroyed the entire government and ruined the entire planet before his Space Marines even showed up. And when they did, they just kind of walked over the bed.
Yeah, it was
and
basically like
response was that took way too much time, and quite frankly, anyways, Gilliman was just sour.
It was like it took too much time.
In my opinion, anyways, it's like it was too much time and ammunition. It's like, dude, we lost Fred. That was the only guy, and quite frankly, he stepped on a mine that we placed. So
it's sort of his own
fault. Meanwhile, anyways, you try to storm a place and you end up losing 1,000 Space Marines, and you're like, that's acceptable. We lost Fred.
Yeah.
You know? So.
And for that matter, it makes it easier for us to set up a, government system that isn't going to have a rebellion against it. Because there is nobody to rebel.
Mind you, anyways, Gilliman was a smart cookie, and he actually learned from the experience, which I will tell about later. But why don't you go ahead and explain what happened during the Horus Heresy? Were they good guys or bad guys, Yuksen? This is where, anyways, if you asked me that question, I would go, both?
Yeah. This is
the conundrum of Alpha Legion. Go ahead, Yuksen.
My viewpoint is they are neither. They are both against both sides in this. Hence why, for example, when it came to the Khan, they were supposed to keep all information from reaching the Khan, period, and not attack him or anything, so that Horus could come and talk to him.
Right.
Well, they started laying in information, come in to sort of murky the waters, and then they attacked him.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads to the aspect of, because we know that Alfarius is not stupid, I'm pretty sure he didn't think, well, this is a smart idea. Let's do something really stupid. Unless that stupid thing.
I think when we covered, and it was actually one of the it was the very first Chaos Legion that we ever covered. Now, hang on. They're still considered a Chaos Legion, and I would definitely call them a Chaos Legion. Maybe not fighting for Chaos, but they're definitely Chaos. They're chaotic.
They're chaotic, yes.
Yeah. And they were the very first Chaos Legion that we actually covered, and in our boxes, and as we did more research into them, and we gathered all the stuff that we had, we came to the conclusion that Alpha Legion, Omegon, Alfarius, anyways, they weren't necessarily, they liked the aspect, anyways, the Imperium of Man. They liked that mankind, anyways, would succeed. They did not think, though, anyways, that the Emperor was the right way to do it.
His method, anyways.
They saw the flaws, anyways, within the Emperor. So, therefore, anyways, they came up with their own scheme. And they tried working both sides of it. They also, like I said, anyways, they didn't like the way that the Emperor did things. They also didn't like the way that Horus did things. They did not like, anyways, the 4 Chaos Gods. They did not like the aspect of, because that would honestly ruin humanity.
Right.
So what they did is they kind of came up with their own scheme, and literally it was to sabotage both sides and help both sides at the same time.
Yeah. To
a point, anyways, that both would fail.
And
they pretty much succeeded in that. Yeah. I mean, Chaos didn't take over humanity. The Emperor, while he's still there, doesn't really actually run humanity. Now, here's the question I have for you before we move on. So they succeeded, right?
Yes and no.
Now, okay. Go ahead. They succeeded with. Okay, let me put it this way: they succeeded on the aspect, anyways. The Emperor didn't win, and Horus did.
Oh yeah, they succeeded in that. What they didn't succeed in is the fact that the ecclesiarchy exists and all of that other stuff that has made the Imperium much worse.
Which makes me really wonder, anyways, because we obviously can tell, anyways, what happens, anyways, if Horus wins. Horus leads to the destruction of humanity. Humanity becomes extinct because of chaos, right?
Or they're just treated as livestock, basically. So mankind basically is dead. Either way.
Like I said, they didn't like that scenario.
Yeah.
They wanted to move on to something different. They also didn't like the Emperor's scenario. Which begs the question, anyways, that if he had defeated Horus and he wasn't just stuck to the Golden Throne, what do you think the Emperor would have actually done? That Alpha Legion looked at this, anyways, with their strategies and their thought processes and run. Yeah, we can't have that happen either.
I don't know. That would be interesting conundrum.
Ironically, anyways, part of me thinks, anyways, the Necrons.
You think that they go to the Necrons and say, fry this guy?
No, I think more along the lines of the God Emperor would use, anyways, human souls, anyways, to generate people that he really wanted into divinity. That's the concern, anyways, that Alpha Legion had. I'm not saying the Emperor would do that, but that's the concern.
Okay. Which, here's another thing about Alpharius and Omegon is they did not shy away from utilizing Xenos tech.
No, not
in
at all.
comparison to the rest of the
They were
period.
very close, anyways, to understanding a lot of stuff that Xenos that a lot of other people didn't.
Yeah.
So to me, anyways, that would be my main concern, anyways, that if you're Alpharius or Omegon, anyways, well, the Emperor, anyways, is just going to use humanity as soul portals. But at the same time, anyways, you're stuck with what we have now, which is terrible.
And I think it would be much easier. We are pretty sure, okay, during the Horus Heresy, we are pretty sure one of the twins died.
Okay.
Yeah. We're 99% sure. There could be some sort of loophole that we didn't.
One of them did die, fighting Rogel Dorn before the Siege of Terra. The argument has always been which one of the brothers died. It's either Omegon or Alpharius. During the time of the Great Scouring, and this is what I said I was going to bring up earlier anyways, one of them, be it Alpharius or Omegon, ended up fighting against Gilliman, and Gilliman ended up using all the tactics that he saw Alpharius use during that wager. And he ends up winning. And he ends up killing somebody anyways named Alpharius, but even the Ultramarines go, nah, it's probably not Alpharius.
Because, like, immediately after, it was like systematically everything started going wrong on Ultramarine side, and then it broke apart. And it was like, yeah, I mean, Alpha Legion is
popping up.
Very scary. But having somebody be able to just flip a single switch just like that and being able to systematically do it that quickly begs to question, there had to be somebody else there that actually was in charge. The person who got killed.
Well, I was going to say anyways that we got to move on anyways to the next thing, but you know what? This one has taken too long. And unfortunately, on that sad note, we are out of time for today. Join us next time anyways as we talk about the rest of the Imperium, like, for instance, anyways, the different functions, like the Ostra Militarum, the Inquisition, and Yuksen's favorite, the Mechanicum.
Well, I like the other two branches of it, but fantastic. But for those of you who enjoyed our little show, could you please be so kind as to push the subscribe, like, or follow button? And if you wish to help us expand our work on 40K lore, by all means, support us by joining our membership program on our YouTube channel, Tales of Asharaka. Right now we have 4, but we could use more.
Hey, that's very Dr. Seuss of you, sir.
Well, thank you. Oh, and don't forget to purchase the Yoden Heist, sold wherever ebooks are sold.
Yes, yes. But most importantly, have a great day. And have a great week. Have a great end of the summer. But until next time, this is Zeckthar
And Yuksen.
signing off.